Well, let's bring Mark Anderson in with us. And Mark, one of the subjects that you've been looking at is election fraud in the US. It's remarkable, isn't it, that as the US and UK stand on the world stage, claiming that they are squeaky clean democracies, there's much going on that seems to deny that. So let's bring this one up. It's NPR, and the headline is "From the Grassroots to the Top of the Ticket, Election Denial Looms Large in GOP." What have you been seeing?
Well, of course, NPR is National Public Radio. That's a branch of PBS. That's our equivalent of the BBC here. So we'll start with that, make that very clear. What we're seeing here is elections being looked at as an article of faith and that you cannot look into them. It literally is becoming that way in the US. And one of the reasons I bring this forth is because when you look at the UK newspapers that try and convey this American news to UK audiences, such as The Guardian and the Daily Mail, they think they've got it all locked down, that they're going to tell British audiences and European audiences what's going on in the States. But all they do is repeat the same narrative that you would hear from the BBC or our equivalent PBS and NPR. And it's all complete distortions and lies. And one of the things the article you just showed says, in Republican politics, one of the biggest issues in the 2022 election is the 2020 election. In at least 8 states so far, Republicans have picked candidates for Secretary of State who deny the results of the last presidential election. How dare they? This is despite the fact that there's not a shred of evidence that calls President Biden's victory into question. If elected, they would become, these Republicans, the chief election officers in their states. So the media is trembling that Republicans running for governor as well as Secretary of State in different states are winning their primaries, and many of the primary nominating elections are over now in the U.S. Now we're looking at the general actual elections in November. And a lot of these secretaries of state potentials and hopefuls for governors in their states, some of them probably incumbents seeking re-election, they don't believe the 2020 election results either. And so the media is trying to keep a lid on this. They're trying to run interference, and they've got to keep this article of faith out there, like you said, Brian, that these Western elections, like the UK, like the US, are squeaky clean. Nothing significant could ever go wrong. There could never be fraud. There could never be theft. But we have to take it as an article of faith, because if you question it, you're almost a Holocaust denier, right? You're an election denier. They're making it almost that bad in terms of a stigma.
So, Mark, let's have a look at this little film clip, because this is just part of the clip itself, but we've got some really excellent comment on what has happened. And you've said that you've got high confidence that what this gentleman is saying is correct. Let's have a look at this clip.
The facts say that this is the least safe, least secure, and least honest election that we have ever seen in Georgia. Here are the facts that every Georgia voter needs to know. A U.S. District Court found on October 11, 2020, that the Dominion voting system used in the November 2020 election is unverifiable to the voter and in violation of 2 Georgia statutes. There are 6 sworn affidavits of counterfeit mail-in ballots in the Fulton County election results that scale into the tens of thousands of votes. The State Farm Arena video shows at least 4 violations of Georgia election law. Approximately 43,000 DeKalb County Dropbox ballots have no chain of custody forms. TrueVote's geo-tracking research showed evidence of ballot harvesting teams driving repeatedly to drop boxes in Fulton and DeKalb counties.
So I've cut out of that, but I'm going to say to our audience, we'll make that clip available for them, because the evidence just goes on and on. It's quite an extraordinary little clip. Very quickly, Mark, because I want to move you on to the subject of legal immigration in the US, but you know the individual that's produced this clip, and you've said there's been a lot of good work going on in the background.
Yeah, Garland is second to none. And this is the big scandal here. As they talk about Arizona, they talk about the different states that were pivotal in the November 2020 election. And in Georgia, Garland Favorito's group there, Voter GA, Voters Organized for Trusted Election Results, is doing yeoman service there. They're doing great work. It's unbiased, it's nonpartisan. Other things he would have added there had the video continued. All 350,000 original in-person ballot images in Fulton County are missing in violation of federal and state retention laws. All 393,000 original ballot images in Cobb County are missing in violation of those same retention laws. At least 17,720 certified in-person recount votes have no ballot images in Fulton County. And these are the densely populated counties in and around Atlanta. 18,325 voters had vacant residential addresses, according to the Postal Service. 904 voters were registered at a P.O. box address, which is illegal in Georgia law. And get this one, all or large parts of 2 million original ballot images from 70 plus Georgia counties are missing.
Yeah,
and this is what the Guardian and the Daily Mail and the New York Times and everybody simply will not report.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we clearly need to do more on that subject, but this one I want to bring in, and I've got to push you a little bit because we're watching the clock here. But this is Texas scorecard. And what's being discussed here? Well, it's about immigration. Let's read you about this. Shortly after President Joe Biden's inauguration, the number of encounters with unaccompanied minors along the southern border skyrocketed seemingly overnight. In the federal fiscal year of 2021, the total number of encounters with unaccompanied children was almost 147,000. More than tripling the previous fiscal year's totals. So what we've got here is a large movement of children, and I'll bring you in just a second, Mark. Let me just cover a bit more of the material you were kind enough to give us. This is Newsmax here. More than 70 secret flights have reportedly carried border migrants to Florida. I found this article utterly incredible when I read it. But just to add the little package, let's have a listen to the next clip, and then I'll bring you in for some comment.
Welcome back to American Agenda. Mr. Biden's border crisis is now being felt in the state of Pennsylvania. According to a new report, flights carrying illegal immigrants are now landing in the Keystone State. These flights apparently happening in the middle of the night under the cover of darkness.
And joining us now to discuss, Pennsylvania Congressman and House Foreign Affairs Committee member Representative Dan Meuser, who recently sent a letter to the Biden administration asking for transparency on this report. Congressman, thank you very much for joining us. Have you received any answers? Let's just begin there.
Yes, Heather, I did. HHS did respond. We were able to have a meeting with them about a week and a half ago. They answered many of our questions. Many questions went unanswered as to why this would be being done in such a clandestine manner.
So in that report, which again we'll make available to people, what he goes on to say is, well, he says questions weren't answered. We had to go to the airport to actually find out ourselves what was happening. Mark, just give us a little bit on this. We'll discuss it more in extra time.
Yeah, this is part and parcel of what's been going on, where these migrants, many of them children and minors, some of them teens, a few adults, are flown to Florida in overnight flights, and Florida officials are given no warning, no advance notice. And Meuser, representative there, the congressman, is talking about Pennsylvania, overnight flights into central and eastern Pennsylvania, dozens and dozens, hundreds and hundreds at a time, many of them children. And no one knows, including Sheena Rodriguez, some of my best firsthand border sources, no one can yet ascertain exactly where these children are going. But the U.S. government, in the opinion of many, and these are good sources, is really involved in trafficking. It's a process of moving children into the country, not telling people where they're going, not giving the communities they're going to advanced warning, and no one knowing the ultimate destination and whereabouts of these kids. And it raises a lot of very uncomfortable questions in a country that's been plagued by kids being sold into sexual slavery, which goes back into the Nebraska affair decades ago. and that involving political elites, as the Washington Times revealed, even involving the Bush family. And granted, I'm extrapolating, but it raises a lot of red flags that have been raised before. And so it's
Okay.
very concerning.
Okay, Mark, thank you very much for that.